The time to talk about saving our world has passed. It's now time to take action. Extreme E is an all-electric off-road racing series with a purpose: to raise awareness of the devastating effects that climate change is having on our planet, racing in some of the most remote and affected areas on Earth. To tackle these demanding locations requires one of the most robust racing cars ever built, the Odyssey 21. With some of the biggest names in motorsport behind the wheel and a 50-50 split male and female driver lineup, backed by a team of industry-leading scientists to guarantee we not only race without a trace, but we leave a lasting legacy at every location. This is fierce and exciting racing with the future of our planet at its heart. This is the greatest adventure of our time. This is Extreme E.
Check the flag.
Round 2 of the inaugural Extreme E Championship was full of super tight wheel-to-wheel racing action. But it was the Round 1 winners, Rosberg X Racing, who came out triumphant once again on the beaches of Senegal to take win 2 from 2 and extend their lead at the top of the championship. The day after they were crowned Ocean X-Prix champions, they sat down to reflect on a drama-filled final.
So, let's watch the race. Press play, and Molly, you can take us through the first couple of corners.
Yeah, we were lucky to get a good start, and I knew I was on the inside, so firstly I didn't want to be squeezed out of the first flag. That was the first priority. Then at what point to hit hyperdrive? I could see we were all kind of level, so I hit it reasonably early. But then as we came up the straight, I could see, Christina must have hit hers later, so then, she was coming up as well. But thankfully the start was good enough, and by the entry to T1 managed to have the advantage and could stick up on the inside. And yeah, coming around T1, you're trying to come in as tight as you can, but the car's moving around in the ruts, and unfortunately we touched on the exit.
Just so happy that Molly was able to escape from the first contacts, and our car was in one piece after the contact, so very happy with that. And yeah, from there on I was pretty sure that Molly would take the car back in the lead.
In Saudi, as I hopped into the car, Johan hopped out and said, it's a bit dodgy out there. So it's like, cheers. When I hopped out this time and Johan hopped in, I said, the steering wheel's a little bit off. And Johan said, that's no problem. Yeah, it wasn't until he got back, he said, it's really, really off.
It was not 2 minutes on the steering wheel, it was more like 6-7 minutes on the wheel, so, but I was right. On the restart, I saw Molly had a great takeoff from the line, so I was pretty sure that I will have a good start as well. And yeah, where Molly used the hyperdrive was the perfect place to use it, so Molly did the hard work there, so I just tried to copy-paste that. After the first couple of meters during the takeoff from the line, actually the steering wheel was quite off, so when I hit the hyperdrive button, me and Jamie had a little bit of a contact on the straight.
Just steering wheel was so off, so when I hit hyperdrive, the front just washed towards Jamie. Sorry for that, that was not intentional, but yeah.
When you start the race, obviously we always go for the switch zone. I got some radio communication saying like, okay, now go for the finish and not for the switch zone.
Go for the finish line. Finish line.
It's 2 from 2 for him and Molly Taylor.
Yeah, it was great to have the whole team there at the finish, and everyone was just working so hard, and we always had work to do, and that satisfaction to be able to share that with everyone was a pretty special moment.
And then I asked if we was allowed to jump into the sea after the race finished, and yeah, so that we did that, so that was quite nice.
With 2 rounds of the series already completed, there's plenty of interesting stories and stats from each of the 9 Extreme E teams to dive into. Andretti United's driver lineup of Katie Munnings and Timmy Hansen looked like ones to watch ahead of the first race, and although they've both looked fast, so far luck hasn't been on their side. In both rounds, the team has had dramatic qualifying sessions. Timmy Hansen set the fastest first lap of anyone during Quali Session 1 in Saudi Arabia, but picked up a puncture just before handing over to Katie Munnings.
We obviously had a slow puncture. I went over a crest and the rear just snapped, and from then it was just on the rim the whole way back. In that moment, every second counts, so I tried to drive as fast as I could.
Qualifying in Senegal saw more problems for the team when the car ground to a halt on track, meaning they could only make it into the shootout race.
I think it's game over for Andretti United in Q1.
2 brilliant starts for Timmy in the Desert X Prix Crazy Race and final, alongside some clinical performances under pressure from Katie, meant they finished on the second step of the podium in the opening round of the series. However, in the shootout race in Senegal, they struggled in comparison and finished at the bottom of the standings.
Through the bumps of Sector 2, it was impossible for me to follow.
Me and Timmy have been trying various setups, but we've both been a bit struggling, and it just wasn't our weekend.
With round 3 approaching fast, they currently sit in joint 4th place in the championship standings, but with only 7 points between them and last place, they certainly won't be feeling comfortable. Some better luck in qualifying, combined with the more familiar gravel terrain of the Arctic X Prix up next, means they'll be hoping to bounce back in Greenland and fire themselves into serious championship contention. In 2019, Extreme E launched the Odyssey 21 at the Goodwood Festival of Speed to thousands of fans. 2 years later, and with the first season underway, Andretti United's Katie Munnings was back at Goodwood at the FutureLab.
It's amazing being here now, 2 years on from when I first saw the Odyssey launch at Goodwood, and I remember wondering what it would be like to drive it, and I never thought I would be one of those drivers, so it's very special to come back 2 years on and be involved with the championship. Just like Extreme E is doing, bringing the mainstream audience into the new technology and making them aware of how we can repurpose materials and act in a better way for the environment. The FutureLab's doing that here at Goodwood, and it's a really positive thing for mainstream people, mainstream fans to get on board with when they're visiting the show.
FutureLab is a science and technology pavilion which sits right at the heart of the Festival of Speed, in which we tell stories of innovation across everything from future of food to future of health, future of farming, space travel, and of course, automotive. Sustainability is absolutely integral to all of the stories that we're talking about in FutureLab in one way or another. It's a theme that weaves through everything. It's such a critical topic at the moment, and I think in terms of innovation and industry evolution, we have to be responsible now. We can't be setting out on new projects that don't have sustainability right at the core, and environments like FutureLab help us to set up conversations to talk to both industry audience and also public audience about the role of sustainability and how technology and science companies and innovation can help us all. Even the theme of FutureLab this year is technology for a better world, which is ultimately sustainability.
One of the future mobility solutions on show was the Aero, a concept EV with autonomous driving capabilities that can clean the air as it drives.
We've got a real problem with the pollution going into our lungs, our children's lungs, and so is it enough to just not be polluting by having an electric vehicle? So suddenly thought, well, we've been spending all this time with filters in COVID times over the last year and a half. What if a car was cleaning up using HEPA filter technology, the air around? It's just a different mindset from the me thing to us thing. And I think that's very doable.
Creating a sustainable future isn't just about the switch to electric vehicles. It involves changes in all aspects of our lives, and revolutionizing the agriculture sector is what the small robot company plans to do.
The agriculture sector is one of the largest emitters of carbon dioxide in the world. It is a significant proportion of all the carbon that we release. Per-plant farming is really the next generation of farming. It's the idea that you can look and understand every single crop plant in the field as it grows throughout the season, and then understand when you need to look after it, and then go out and treat those plants to get the best yield for the smallest amount of inputs. By using a system which doesn't plough and which doesn't compact the soil, it means you're not disturbing and turning the soil over. And by doing that, you're not encouraging bacteria to release carbon dioxide into the air. Also, because we are minimizing the use of fertilizers, we are reducing the amount of carbon that is released in the production of those fertilizers. And actually, that's one of the biggest problems that farming has.
Acciona Sainz XE, with motorsport legend Carlos Sainz Sr. and Leia Sanz behind the wheel, have had a roller coaster opening 2 races, with moments of brilliance and misfortune coming in equal measures. Their combined desert experience from the Dakar Rally came in handy during qualifying in Saudi Arabia.
It feels good to be in a terrain more familiar to me. I'm excited to start, but also a bit, nervous.
An excellent performance saw them secure 2nd place overall.
We are P2, Laia is doing a great job. I'm happy, we are happy, and let's see tomorrow what is happening.
Despite this initial success, there were doubts on how they would fare when the wheel-to-wheel action began, as both drivers come from a rally background. In the semi-final, Carlos showed he wasn't afraid to get stuck in, but he was unable to take the lead, and with no visibility in the desert dust, they finished 3rd in the race, meaning they didn't progress to the final.
I think we have a good start. Then before the first corner I have a small touch with Sebastian Loeb, and then it was over for me.
In Senegal, a technical issue in qualifying saw the car break down on course and disappointingly landed them in the shootout race. Carlos once again showed his wheel-to-wheel racing prowess and took the lead at turn 1 with a late braking manoeuvre. Despite her best efforts on lap 2, Leia Sanz wasn't able to hold on to the lead, meaning they finished 8th overall.
For us wasn't so good this weekend. We had good chance here because of the terrain, so it is a pity that straight away we were out, but this is how motorsport is sometimes.
Both Carlos and Leia, with their combined desert racing experience, have adapted well to this brand new electric series. But with the colder climate and gravel terrain of the Arctic X-Prix up next, will they keep cool or freeze under the pressure? Extreme E has attracted some of the biggest names in motorsport to join the electric Odyssey, and arguably none are bigger than 7-time F1 champion Lewis Hamilton, who joined with his brand new team X44. One of the main reasons Lewis partnered with the series is due to its focus on highlighting environmental issues. To learn more about some of these problems, he sat down with Richard Washington, a member of Extreme E's scientific committee and a specialist in desertification, to learn more about the challenges that our deserts face.
Richard, it's nice to meet you. I really wanted to meet with you and get a bit of an insight into the places that we're going to, and the season opener is the Desert X-Prix. I heard that you're a specialist on deserts.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time studying them, but I also absolutely love them. They're strikingly beautiful places.
I heard that the deserts are expanding. How is that the case, and what does that mean?
They are expanding, and a key reason is human intervention in the climate system. If you think about the tropics and the subtropics, which includes the deserts, it's basically a huge heat engine that takes heat away from the equatorial areas and sticks it in the subtropics. And it does that by driving the big rainstorms of the equator, the huge thunderstorms. And what goes up there has got to sink somewhere else, and it sinks over the desert. But we're messing with that heat engine. We're putting more energy into it. And the subtropics, being the radiator of that heat engine, have to get bigger to deal with the greater energy. And in the process, they expand, they dry out more areas.
What is the end result if we don't do something now? What if we don't change? What?
We lose a lot of areas where people are managing to cling on to an existence now. And a lot of the people that live in those areas are marginalized to begin with. We're not talking about the rich people of the world. We're talking about a lot of subsistence farmers who eke out an existence relying on the very brief rains that come to water their crops. We're seeing the changes already. This isn't just projections into the future towards the end of the century. We're picking it up in the rainfall changes now.
And can I just ask, when we're going to these places, when we go to the desert, how do you think we can bring awareness to this and encourage people for change?
I'd like people to connect with the climate and environmental problem as something that's real. It's not just a data set that people like me study, but it's a real problem on people's doorsteps. What we need is a shift of opinion, and science on its own can't do that. It needs people like you. It needs people with the profile and the fame to be able to get out and to profile it.
Yeah.
And Extreme E is a brilliant idea in that sense.
I can't wait to see what we can do together, and I'm looking forward to working with you because I'm going to be very much in the background in touch, so thank you.
Great to discuss this with you. Thanks for being on board.
Pleasure.
Abt Cupra XE have had arguably one of the toughest starts of any team, but despite their struggles, it's clear that the pace is there. In qualifying during the Desert X Prix, Matthias Eckstrom looked rapid and was only a few seconds off the fastest time. Unfortunately for him and the team, his teammate Claudia Hertgen lost control of the car during her lap.
Oh, sideways in a roll! Massive off! That's huge!
I hope the guys can repair the car for tomorrow, and then we will go out again tomorrow.
Not able to set a qualifying time, they ended up in the shootout race. Off the line, Eckstrom showed his wheel-to-wheel racing experience and took the lead, but unfortunately for Claudia, her nightmarish weekend only got worse.
He's in the dust now, looking for a way through. No lifting! Oh, he hit her!
It was a terrible end for the team, especially that has spent so much hours working, but that was our weekend.
When the team arrived in Senegal for round 2, more troubles for Claudia appeared when she fell ill before the racing could begin, meaning she was replaced by reserve driver Jutta Kleinschmidt. Despite her lack of competitive experience in the Odyssey 21, they qualified third and went into semi-final 1. Matthias once again showed his racing pedigree and muscled his way into the lead on lap 1, but due to a communication error in the switch zone, Jutta didn't see the cue to start her lap and sadly dropped into third place.
We had the problem with the radio. I couldn't hear the signal to go out. Then I looked to Matthias and he said, "Look, go, go." But it was already a bit too late. To be honest, I'm still thankful that I had the chance.
Despite this issue, Jutta's showed her value and secured herself a drive with the team on a permanent basis. With the team currently sitting in 7th place, they'll be hoping that the driver change will allow them to show what they can really do and bring with it more precious championship points. At every race location, the championship's aim is to leave a lasting legacy in the surrounding communities. And in Senegal, Extreme E's legacy partner TO.org is going one step further with its environmental efforts in the region.
So I consider myself half Senegalese. Our family came out here really just at about the independence of the country, and we've been here since then. And so when I had a conversation with Alejandro and he was looking for an ocean location, it made total sense because of my responsibility as a Senegalese to try to entice the championship to come here and to check out this beautiful Lac Rose that is a bastion and a beacon of Senegalese hope. The beginning of Extreme E and the beginning of this race is really the beginning of a brighter, electrified future. We're really on a mission to create social and environmental change. This is an incredible opportunity to use motorsports as a platform to bring in important topics that are close to our heart and topics that we work on at TO.org. It's a motley crew of amazing people that have one thing in common, and it's no ego and a desire to change the world.
TO.org, alongside the Senegalese Association for Reforestation, are on an epic journey to plant and grow an 8,000-kilometre natural wonder of the world across the entire width of Africa, known as the Great Green Wall.
The Sahel is one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. It is really a belt of desertification that is being driven more and more southwards every year. In order for us to really accelerate this movement of doing good, it needs to be aspirational. The Great Green Wall is a campaign to plant a wall of trees from Senegal to Eritrea, which will serve as a buffer to stop desertification and to create beautiful livelihoods in the region. And so we've been planting mango trees and cashew nut trees, about 65,000 to date, which is amazing because the only way for us to really fight inequality is to create livelihoods. And mango trees provide a source of income for populations that are in inhospitable terrain.
Oui, l'initiative de la Grande Muraille Verte est née de la volonté des présidents africains qui voulaient lutter contre l'avancée du désert, lutter contre la pauvreté des populations dans les milieux arides, lutter pour l'enrichissement des communautés de femmes, pour apporter des revenus aux populations. Moi, ce que j'observe en tant que citoyen du monde, c'est qu'on va chercher de l'eau sur Mars, alors que le village chez moi, le village voisin chez moi, il n'y a pas d'eau. Mais encore faut-il que le projet soit porté par des gens qui sont déterminés eux-mêmes, qui sont engagés au quotidien à planter des arbres, riches de plantes qui vont nous enrichir en retour, en régulant la pluie, en nourrissant la terre pour l'agriculture, en nourrissant le bétail. Une fois que les populations ont compris qu'il y va de leur intérêt à planter des arbres pour sauvegarder leur agriculture, pour sauvegarder leur élevage, ils s'engagent. Aujourd'hui, c'est le temps d'agir.
It is very important to make sure that we are leaving behind very important legacies in each race location so that the population understand that when we come here and showcase the beauties, but also some of the dangers that are looming around climate change related issues, then we're also leaving something behind that has a lot of impact.
Once complete, the Great Green Wall will be the largest living structure on the planet. This initiative is bringing life back to Africa's precious landscapes, as well as providing food security, jobs and a reason to stay for the millions who still live along its path. The Extreme E Championship will see racing action in stunning remote locations around the world, whilst making sure that they leave no trace behind. In order to do just that, huge amounts of care and consideration is taken by the Extreme E team.
So here we are, this is Al Ula. We've built over the last week 70 tents and filled them with all the equipment. To give you context, that's 50 containers load of equipment which has come off of the St. Helena. One of the problems we have with Extreme E is we're working in some of the most aggressive environments in the world. Every site is unique and has unique challenges. Where we have had a lot of trucks come in, which has degraded the road because it's remote. We've worked with the council and we have a plan already to improve that road so the local farm actually gets the best access to the local farm it's ever had. So we're going to leave him with a better road. We have got an enormous cleaning team, and as a rule of thumb, as an event manager, you have to be the last man on site. So we photographed everything before we came here. On day one, we photographed and videoed the whole event site, and then our ambition is that when we leave, the farmer has a better road and everything else looks the same. And I won't go, and I can't go, until we know we've met that responsibility, because it's unacceptable to leave and have stuff left behind. So the only way to do it is to be there at the beginning, photograph it, and be there at the end, and photograph it and check it. That's the only way to do it.
One of the many ways Extreme E made sure it left the shores of Lac Rose, Senegal better than it found them was by organising a beach clean, and even the drivers got stuck in.
You can see here along the beach there's so much plastic on the beach, which is devastating to see because the beach should be clean. And this is the thing that's really great with the Legacy program. I mean, we come to a place like this, it's plastic all over the beach, we do this clean together, we get huge amounts of plastic and we leave the place in a much better state than we came to.
It's so important to speak about the problem in the world, the plastic. So we decided to come and clean a bit the beach with the guys here, and in 10 minutes we find a lot everywhere. It's crazy.
It's definitely not something I've done on a race weekend before, but it's fantastic. I mean, all the drivers commented on how bad the plastic was on the beach, so to actually now get down here, not in the race car, and pick some of it up, I think is a great thing. And it's only a small proportion of obviously the whole beach, but it'll hopefully contribute to a bit more.
This is the water pouches, and the problem with that type of plastic is that it's going to microfragment and become tiny bits of plastic, and this is when it becomes very dangerous because we can't see it anymore.
Yeah.
I was super happy to see the drivers and guests to come down on the beach and come down on the ground and start making a difference. Like, this is what we need, action, not intentions. The beauty of Extreme E is about action, right? It's about the fact that we really do things that matter to make sure that each one of us can make a difference in this world. and there is no puny actions. Everything that's done is meaningful, and this is what we would like to showcase through the Legacy project and make sure that everybody can really absorb that and act on his own way. Everything makes a difference.
Next time on Electric Odyssey, Rosberg ex-racing founder Nico tells us why Extreme E is so important in the race against climate change.
It's exciting racing, but with the social causes that we're really trying to support.
We analyse 3 more teams and their stories so far, and Lewis Hamilton learns about the problems facing our oceans.
The more you heat the world, the more the oceans warm, the more the ice melts, and the more the sea level comes up.
It's devastating.